So 28, we probably have 20. Oh, wow. Hi, everyone. Welcome. We've got a few minutes to start. I'm seeing a lot of names that I know. If you could put in where you're, where you're from, what state perhaps, some of you, what country. You can just say, hi, I'm from, I saw somebody who's from Mexico already. Reston, Virginia. Hi, Steve. Kelly, it's been a long time. Nice to see you, kind of see you. Let's see. So for those of you who are here, if you hear me, if you want to practice raising and lowering hands, how many of you are practicing social distancing now that the states have opened? Yay! Yay! Yeah, there's a lot of parties going on right now. That's why I'm still practicing social distancing and wearing a mask. Thank you. Hola, Luis. Ciudad de Mexico. We have somebody from Atlanta, Georgia. Who's from Atlanta? Julie. Hi, Julie. Well, welcome everyone to Tuesday again. We'll start in one more minute. That's my husband saying he's in the next room to me. Nice to see. Yes, it's nice to see everyone. Shonda, nice to see you. Thank you for coming. Washington, D.C., that's just up the road from me. I'm in Charlottesville, Virginia, or just outside of Charlottesville. Okay, so we'll get started. We have a lot to cover. It's I keep thinking about how much life has changed since early March, and so now that some of the states are opening up, it's like, really, are we ready? Are you ready for the new normal? Because times have changed, and that's for sure. And I was talking with a client about a week ago, and February already seems like 100 years ago. But when you think about it, the fact is that things are always changing, and adjusting to a new reality is not really new. The only difference right now is that we've been thrown into a massive change with so many variables that impact the economy, impact our health and stuff like that. So that's what we're here to talk about today. So welcome everyone, and thank you for coming. Hello, I'm Susan Robertson. I am CEO and co-founder of Lindsay's Conscious Business. And for 31 years, I don't know how I got that old, I've been in the business of executive coaching, team coaching, and culture change. And last year, I accomplished a lifelong dream. I wrote and published a book, Real Leadership, Wake into Wisdom. And my second book, Real Culture, The Catalyst for Conscious Business, is due out in mid-July. And, I have a purpose and passion, and I've been very lucky to do what I love. And I'm passionate about helping others and lifting them up. So, yes. Okay, sorry, we missed a slide there. I feel that if I can help people leaders become real, more humane, this changes how business operates. Leaders impact the lives of hundreds and thousands of people, and when leaders rise, everyone rises. And so this webinar is about uncertainty and being ready to create certainty even when things are changing. It's about creating and shaping your future in the midst of change. So let's see a show of hands. How many of you are feeling confused and uncertain about the future? Got only one hand? Okay, a couple of hands. All right. Looks like, I've got to take a look. I'm sorry, I'm not looking at the camera. Looks like quite a few of you have some confusion about what might happen. Me too. And I get a little emotional when I think about uncertainty because from the time I was young, I craved certainty. I grew up, there was a time in my life when I was growing up and I didn't know where my next meal would come from and worried about whether we would have a place to live or not. And it breaks my heart to see the long lines of cars and people waiting to receive food for their families. You know, so many people have the same fears right now that I had growing up. Not certain about their next meal. They can't get their unemployment, worried about their mortgage and their rent, and questioning, how am I going to provide for my family given this time? So because of my past, I spent, it's the next slide, Andrea, there we go. Because of my past, I spent my life trying to find stability and certainty. When I was 17, I got into banking. And in fact, the pictures that you see there is the building I worked in. And the second one from the right within the lobby was my stand where I was a teller. So I got into banking because I wanted certainty. 10 years later, at the age of 27, I did something that most people would call crazy. And that's why I have the picture of that woman leaping. I traded instability and certainty for instability and uncertainty. And I learned to find certainty within uncertainty. It was 1990 and the country was still coming out of recession. And with 4 stepchildren and a child support payment, my husband and I started a business. And then 28 years later, in 2018, after building a highly successful international consulting firm, we did it again. My husband and I, we retired from the company we co-founded and started Lindsay's Conscious Business, along with our business partners, Andrea, wave hi, Andrea, and her husband, Kevin Haas, and Andrea is here today. And then last year, my sister, Cindy, wave hi, Cindy, joined as an owner. And we all went from having certainty in our lives to uncertainty. Sort of crazy, right, to just sort of take that leap. And next comes, once you do something like that, all the what ifs start to come up. You know, what if we fail? What if we go bankrupt? What if we made the wrong decision? And now COVID-19 hits. And boom, you have double, triple uncertainty. And so let's see a show of hands. How many of you have a number of what ifs going through your head right now? What if this, what if that? I can probably rattle off another 15 what ifs in my head, besides like, you know, what if we made the wrong decision? So let's take a poll. And we've been taking these polls every couple of weeks, and it's been interesting to see the change. So Cindy is going to show the poll right now. And the first question is, are you ready to get back to normal? And what I mean by that is back to normal, how life was like, let's say back in January and February. So are you ready to get to back to that kind of normal, yes or no? And then what is on your mind right now in terms of your biggest concerns getting back to normal? So pick 2 of those, the economy, illness. So I'm seeing the results. They keep changing about whether people are ready to get back to normal or not, and what does normal mean, and what they're really worried about. Okay, it looks like we're good. So go ahead and, all right, cool. We had 20 people vote. So as you can see, and I've been watching this in terms of the Gallup polls as well, about 50% of us are ready to get back to normal the way that it was, and then 50% of us aren't ready to get back to normal. And this is, again, we're finding the same thing with our own polls. A lot of people are worried about whether there may be a recession or a depression. A lot of people are worried, much more so than when this first started, about what's going to happen if they get sick or friends and family get sick and there might be death or a very bad illness. Certainly we've been seeing, I was watching some television last night, people wearing or not wearing masks and how people are responding to that. You know, what's a personal right versus how do you keep, you know, other people safe? And so, of course, if we're worried about the economy, a recession or depression, we're going to be worried about our personal finances. Now, one of the things that happens, you know, and what I've noticed is, thanks, Cindy, for sharing. We can bring that down now. Is that people want equal parts of financial health and physical health. I mean, and it seems like right now those choices are at odds with each other, but they don't have to be. And we do know if we don't open up the states, the economy will definitely tank. But if we open up too soon or incorrectly, then there will be more sickness and death. And so what happens in a situation like that, this, is that when there is an uncertainty, many of us go into a wait and see mode. And the question becomes, what are we waiting to see? So if we take a look at the survey from Gallup, and these are ones that have been coming out quite quickly recently, to get back to normal, most of us are waiting to see. 88% of us, believe it or not, want to see mandatory quarantine measures if somebody tests positive. How we implement that state by state, I don't know. 77% of us want to see improvement in treatment. 73% of us want to see a reduction in new cases and death rate, and 66% of us want to see a vaccine in order for us to feel like we can really go back to normal. And another interesting statistic that really captures me is that illustrates that people are in the wait and see mode is, this is from May 6th, the Gallup poll, 51% of us are spending less money. So we are taking a defensive posture in case of layoffs and bad times. You know, and have you ever had a song get stuck inside your head? This is the one that's been going through my head lately, and because I think it's just so profound. There's a lot of questions that we have. There's a lot of what ifs, you know, and there's more than one answer to these questions pointing me in a crooked line. So this is my promise to you. I'm going to share with you a methodology that I've used to help me and others create certainty when things are uncertain. Because this is going to, not that we'll have a pandemic again, but life is always changing. My goal is to help you with your answers that might point you in the crooked line. And we don't have much time. I'm watching the clock. I've got 20 minutes left. So I'm going to share with you the Be Ready for Change model. I'm going to share with you how to use that model to create your certainty. And your certainty may be different than my certainty. And that by using the 5-step methodology that you'll be able to answer your own what-if questions. I'm not going to say that the answers are easy, and I'm not going to say that it won't require some discipline or discipline and difficulty, because these are big life questions that we're all facing. And then I hope to share with you some next steps that you can use to create your future. At the end, I'm going to share with you 2 opportunities. On Friday, we have a YQA encore webinar. We call this Your Question Answered. This is a gift. It's another opportunity. If you want to attend it, just type in YQA into the chat. That means if you have a very specific question that I don't have answered here, then we'll be able to get back together at 12 o'clock on Friday and be able to sort of do a deep dive on your question. I want to tell you about our new Mastering Resilience teleseminar. I've been teaching this stuff for a long time. I've been teaching resilience for a long time, and now I have it available. We have it available online, and so we want to share that with you. Are you ready? And remember, feel free to post questions in the chat as we go. So here is the second. Okay, good. Looking forward to seeing you guys at the YQA. Here's the second poll. We can go ahead and put that up. Do you feel that you can adequately address the leadership challenges you will face as businesses open up and get back to the workplace? I'm having such interesting conversations, yes or no, with my clients right now. Do you feel that you can communicate in a way that instills trust and confidence with your employees and with your peers and those that you work with? Do you know how to break through the fear and the stress and confusion when there are no clear answers for folks? Do you feel like you're in a place where you can lead that? And do you have a plan to help your team bounce back, given all the things that we are looking at? So just take a look at those questions and see how you feel right now. How prepared are you? Do you feel like you can handle it? So actually, we're having some pretty strong responses about how people feel. You know, it's interesting, the first question, do you feel that you can adequately address the leadership challenges you will face as businesses open up? You know, some of the conversations that I'm having with my clients is, you know, how do I work with people that maybe they have somebody at home who might be, you know, more at risk, and then I'm required to be in at work. What do I do? And how do I help that person? How do I lead people and allow some people to stay home and not be perceived as having favoritism? Okay, so as we look at, close to 70% of you feel that you can address these leadership challenges that businesses have, and close to 88% of you feel that you can communicate in a way that instills trust. And, you know, to build trust, it means you have to be vulnerable and honest with them about how you're feeling, right? Do you know how to break through fear and stress and confusion when there are no clear answers? Well, gosh, you guys have scored so well, maybe you should be leading the webinar or sharing best practices. Well, we can do that at the YQA as well if you want to attend on Friday, because these are some of the questions that we're hearing. What do we do? How do we help them? How do we move people forward? How do I help people address their fears? And so hopefully this 5-step be ready for change methodology can help you for any questions that you might have left with that. Okay, so we'll stop sharing that. So where do we start? So what's needed is leadership. Leadership of ourselves, leadership of our families, our communities, and our teams at work. And effective leaders, you know, they know how to envision the future. And given the uncertainty we are experiencing, this is one of the most important steps that you can take, is envision the future of what you want your future to be. And then bring in your team to have them help you envision what the future will be like. When you have the future envisioned, even if it's only 2 months, 3 months from now, it inspires action. And when you inspire action, then people align around the process and the goal and the destination. But if we wait and see, well, what's senior leadership going to do? What's my company going to do? Then we don't have a vision for the future for ourselves, nor will we have the vision of the future for our teams. So we can't take inspired action because we don't know where we're going. And we can't even figure out what our next steps will be. So we start with ourselves. You know, I'm working with a leader right now, and one of the very first questions I ask him is, you know, what do you think it'll be like 6 months from now? And then how do you want to lead your team to get you there? So let's move into the 5 steps model to get you to be ready for change and to improve resilience and create certainty in uncertainty. And I can spend an entire day on each one of these 5 steps, but, you know, some of you already had some questions that you already gave us at registration. So what you want are practical tools for relating to the workforce in diverse locations. So what I recommend is really listen to when I talk about step 1 and recognize, because I'll give some tips there. Some of you wanted something to work with clients and prospects. Feel free to use our Be Ready for Change model toolkit, which we'll have at the end. Some of you wanted more on real leadership. And while I won't be talking about this directly, the Be Ready model is part of the real model of leadership effectiveness. And some of you wanted to know what you can expect as people transition back. As you can see from the polls, when everything you're facing, what people really want from you is leadership. Because even though this group seems to be, I'm going to say more capable of envisioning that future and understanding what challenges they're facing, I can guarantee you there are many people who aren't as clear. And so then again, if I don't specifically answer your question, please be sure to show up on Friday. So step 1, recognize. And this is what really, this is a reality check. What you have to do is acknowledge, recognize, and admit the uncertainty. As Andrea, Cindy, and I have been working with teams, when you begin to just honestly, hand on heart, say, I don't get it. I don't know. I'm not sure. And honestly admit that you're feeling confused and scared as a leader. And then what you do with that is that you give people the permission to share their thoughts and their emotions. And that helps release some of that fear and anxiety that other people carry. So, and then also admit, what kind of actions are you taking? Are they reactionary or are they proactive? Are you adapting or are you creating? And this is one of the most difficult things, because right now, most of us, and rightly so, we went into adapting. We had this thing happen, and now we are reacting. And we're at a time, and many people will call a time like this an opportunistic time, where we can find the opportunity in uncertainty. And so we want to adapt, but then we also want to create some agility in terms of saying, okay, if we're going to adapt to this, where is this adaptation taking us? So you have to take a look at the kind of actions that you are actually taking, the behaviors. So ask yourself these questions. With your team, ask the same questions. What are our uncertainties? What beliefs, emotions, and thoughts is the team having? Am I having? What kind of actions and reactions are we as a team taking? And what kind of actions and reactions am I taking? I can tell you, in March, I was eating way too much chocolate to manage the emotional uncertainty and stress. And that was a reaction. That was an adaptation, rather than saying, you know what, I don't want to gain 15 pounds while going through this. What I want to do differently is this. So I had to admit, what kind of actions was I doing, was I taking? And was that leading me forward, or was that going to keep me stuck? Another thing you can do is reframe your personal worries and challenges and concerns, and post those concerns as questions. We did a reframing exercise in our stress webinars last month. And if you want to get a copy of that, just type in stress, and Cindy and Andrea will make sure you get that. But when you reframe your concerns into questions, that turns them into the problem statement. And when you turn it into a problem statement, it's a question to be answered. So after you pose your challenges as questions and concerns, then you, as an individual or with your teams, can start an idea process. How do we answer these questions? What do we do? So that moves you out of the emotional reaction and moves you into becoming proactive and creative. And then you can distinguish. And this is all in doing the reality check. Are we being reactive, or are we being proactive? Are we acting out of fear, or are we taking action that lead us forward? And finally, you have to accept reality, but not be defeated by it. I mean, most of us are now here, we're going, okay, COVID's here to stay. The economy sucks sort of right now. Don't want it to keep sucking. So what do I do? And so that's what I mean by accepting reality, but not be defeated by it. If we don't ask what I'm going to do, then we'll stay in reaction instead of becoming proactive. I have so many exercises that I can share with leaders and teams to help them get through this phase for doing a deep reality check. And when you do a deep reality check, you need to make sure you're being completely and totally honest. And that's one of the hardest things to do when you're doing the step one, recognize. This is the second one. Step two is the be ready for change model, is the educating yourself. And don't underestimate the importance of this. Finding trusted data. I don't know about you, but there is a lot of noise out there. And there's a lot of interpretation of data. And so I see a lot of people believing the interpretation rather than the data itself. So I'll share with you, for me, my COVID-19 trusted source is Johns Hopkins. For the economy, I'm just watching the stock market. For trends, sentiment trends, I'm looking at the Gallup polls to get how people are thinking and feeling. Harvard on May 8th just put out an article entitled, "Which COVID-19 Data Can You Trust?" And in that same article, Gallup, in another article that same week, 68% of Americans cite social media as a primary source of misinformation. I'm not saying it's 100% bad, but you have to really understand what kind of data are you taking in. because so much of what is out there is an interpretation of data. And stuff that is fake is being called real, and what is real is being called fake. So you have to, from your own gut, find that, what you trust is, a source. And then another thing, gather contradictory perspectives. Because there's so much noise, it's important to see all sides of the issues. I always like to say, and I won't mention which one it's that I watch, but I always watch the two main, what people say are the news channels, because I want to get both sides of the same story. And we as human beings, we tend to interpret data to fit our perspective. So we really need to evaluate the other side and listen to data, even if it doesn't fit our model of the world. That is going to help you become more educated. And then track your unconscious bias. A lot of us have unconscious bias, and we don't even realize that we believe in a certain way, and we don't understand how we're dismissing information. And then finally, we have to discern the truth. What's the truth around this? There's an infodemic out there, and there's a lot of contradictory information. So my recommendation, find those sources and go on a pundit's diet. And that way you'll get through your information of fact versus fiction. And that's the best you can do. Step 3, and I know I'm running short on time, is after you educate yourself, you need to become adaptable and agile. And as you can see here, and I won't be able to go into this as deeply, you want to be able to brainstorm ideas, think outside the box, and learn new skills. I often like to tell teams that I work with, come up with 20 new ideas. And if you come up with 20 new ideas, that'll force you to think outside of the box. And then after that, you have to figure out, the next step is the decision I'm making, is this right or is this wrong for me? Because once you define and understand what you are dealing with, then you have to decide what to do. Even if you make a bad choice, at least you're moving forward in direction. Here's the catch. You need to be willing to adjust to new information as it comes in. In times of uncertainty, there's always going to be new information. So some of us get stubborn with our decisions. So don't be stubborn. If new information comes in, you've got to move to step 4 here, which is you have to define, refine, and decide. Define your problem statement, define your starting point, and then discuss and debate the ideas. You remember those 20 ideas that I just talked about, and then you create the path from those ideas to move you forward. You decide on the solution, you create your action steps, and then because you've defined, refined, and decided, now you have your future, now you've envisioned, now you'll be able to take inspired action. And then the last part is aligning people, aligning the responsibilities, aligning the accountabilities. As you can tell, I could have spent the whole day on this whole thing. Finally, once you decide, again, it doesn't matter whether you're right or wrong, say yes, jump, act, learn from your actions, because these are extraordinary times. No one has a crystal ball. We will make mistakes. We won't get it right. All we can do is learn and adjust. So hopefully you can do this. I know I feel like I'm always learning. So remember, if you want to continually ensure you're building solid ground for yourself, use that Be Ready model. You can see we have a little infographic that you can download, and you'll get that tomorrow. Tomorrow you'll have access to this webinar and the slides. You'll get access to the toolkit. On Friday, again, join us for the YQA, your questions answered. And when you register, put as much down about the specific information that you have so we can just jump right in. The second offer, and we are so excited, Cindy, Andrea, and I are so excited. I've been teaching about resilience for 30 years in live workshops and in one-on-one coaching and team coaching. And we've developed a teleseminar as well as an online program. And if you want to register for this, we're giving it away for free. It's a one-time only offer to help us pilot this program. So you attend, you give us feedback on what you like or don't like, and then what you'll get is you're going to get 2 one-on-one coaching calls, 2 group mastermind calls, if you will. And the program is called Mastering Resilience, How to Master Stamina, Grit, and Resilience in Turbulent Times. It's on June 22nd. So if you want to join us for that, just put in resilience and we'll make sure that we can help you with the registration. So I hope you'll join us on this journey, help us with the pilot. So some of the next steps, some of you already did this. If you want access to the stress seminars or the webinars, type in stress, we'll give you the access to that. Type in YQA. If you want to attend our Friday roundtable coaching, and then type in resilience if you want to attend our free Mastering Resilience teleseminar. So, wow, that was a lot. And I'm happy to answer any questions. The YQA will be able to take it a bit slower now that you understand the model. We'll be able to take it a bit slower and just go, okay, let's deep dive this for you. And I've got a couple minutes left. If anyone has a question now, I'm happy to take it. And I really appreciate you all coming. Okay, great. We've got some of you are coming to doing all of it. Thank you. Thank you very much. Next month, our next webinar is going to be around rebuilding, recovering, and re-energizing yourself and your team. So, all right, 12:29 is probably going to click over to 12:30. Thank you all. And again, feel free to write us info@LCB Group or Susan@lcbgroup.com, and we'll be happy to get back to you. Have a good day. Bye. Oh, thank you, everyone. You're welcome. Nice to see everyone. De nada, Luis.